A heartfelt welcome. Good day, good evening from wherever in the world you're dialing in from. And I just kind of screened through and all across Europe, somebody from India, somebody from California. So around the world, welcome everyone to Brandon's Discovery Session today. And where we try and find out what the body is trying to tell us and how we can open with that, how we can clear our issues and illnesses from our body, from our beings. My name is Gabby Burt. I've been with Brandon and the journey for 27 years, and it's been a privilege. And I'm delighted and thrilled that Brandon is here live for all of us today, and she's sharing some of the stories that people have written in about what they want to be, the challenges that they are facing in their life, and how we all can learn from that. So please join me and welcome me with a heart full of gratitude for Brandon today. Thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you.
And thank you, Gabby, and a heartfelt welcome from me as well. And I always look forward to these sessions because I hear from you what challenges you're facing, what issues have been coming up for you, and a deep prayer from within all of us to really come to a place of wholeness in both our bodies and our beings. And, you know, today someone was writing in that they had gotten ill and they had a trauma about 5 years ago. It was a big trauma. And some months after that, they got ill and ended up in hospital. And when they got out of hospital, they kept getting ill. And she was aware that she felt it was based in this trauma. And now she has fear that it's going to keep coming back. The illnesses are going to keep coming back. And now there's fear also stored inside of her body. And this is, in fact, the way it works inside of us. That what science has found is that when we feel a strong emotion and we repress it, it actually releases a biochemistry into our bloodstream, which will go to certain cell receptors and block them, rendering those cells incapable of communicating with the rest of the cells in the body, which they normally do all the time. And if over time illness happens, obviously it happens where the cells are blocked. And conversely, what they also know to be true is when we feel our emotions very openly and very freely, naturally, you know, like a child does, our cell receptors remain open. And what science has found is that our cells, they all replicate at varying speeds. But when we have this emotional issue that we were at the height of, and we somehow just shut it down, and the biochemistry was released, and that cell memory got stored inside of our cells. And before that cell generation dies, it passes on its programming, its cell memory, its consciousness to the next cell generation. So these old buried emotional issues, these traumas, these old pains get passed on literally, physically, anatomically from one cell generation to the next. And then what happens is life triggers us, and suddenly out of nowhere up comes the emotional issue that's actually physically stored inside of our cells. And the journey, for those of you that are new to it, is a healing method that was originally born from my own direct experience. 29 years ago, I ended up with a basketball-sized tumor. And in 6.5 weeks' time, I healed from that. And without any medical intervention, or I mean, obviously I did go end up at, an oncologist's office and have it diagnosed and everything. But I was really catapulted on my own healing journey. And part of the gift of my own healing journey is I found a means for all of us to go on our healing journeys, to get access to these old cell memories, the old emotional pain, the old traumas that are stored inside, and to go through a very deep clearing, releasing process and healing process, ultimately forgiveness, so that when new cells are born, they're born devoid of that old consciousness. as new regenerative cells. So the new cells, once you've cleared out all the old cell memory, the old pain, you've come to some understanding of what took place to you when that old emotional issue got buried inside your cells, and you've really cleared it on all levels of being. Then when the new cells are born and the new generation of cells is born, it is born devoid of that old consciousness as new regenerative cells. And it was interesting because just today I was speaking to a producer of a documentary that's been proposed to Netflix that's all about this whole issue of cell memories and how to get access to them. And indeed, there are 3 hospitals in Israel where they are using the journey method, that after let's say you've been diagnosed with cancer, then after you've done whatever medical treatment in the hospital, you have a week in the recovery center where the focal point of the whole recovery center is to get to the emotional corollary of what co-created the illness. And so this documentary has been following along to see the results of doing the journey. And they've found over time that the illnesses tend not to come back. So they have the same thing for in the hospital that has heart disease as their specialty, where they get to the emotional root cause of what co-created the heart attack in the first place. Same thing with fibromyalgia. Now, today, someone wrote to me that she had been diagnosed with fibromyalgia, and she explained that not long before she got fibromyalgia, she had had a trauma. And indeed, when I was speaking to the producer today, she said she was following the journey of 2 fibromyalgia patients. And what they uncovered there, one was that she had been raped in a gang rape when she was 16 years old. And the truth of the matter is, no one has given any of us a manual. How do you deal with that kind of trauma? So what do? We end up shutting down. We sweep it under the carpet. We try to get on with our lives. We try to cope. But that trauma gets stored inside of ourselves. And then later in life, it shows up. In her case, it's fibromyalgia. And so there was even one woman who wrote to me today who was sharing about how she didn't really have any big trauma happen, but for her it was traumatic. When she was a very young child and she was wide open and just resting in an innocence to life, and very sensitive child, never felt touched by anything in life, that she just was swimming in this kind of innocent joy. And her mother told her that she would never be academically astute, that she just didn't have what it took. And as a young child, she got it that innately, she's just stupid. And this I'm stupid, nothing I can do can change it. That issue got buried inside of her cells. And it's been sabotaging her whole life. Her relationships, she's not competent enough to have a healthy relationship, in her jobs, in her life skills, her creativity, in every area. This feeling of being useless is one of the words she used, or being stupid, or just not good enough, has been dogging her whole life long. And the reason that is because they are actually physiologically stored in our bodies, these emotional issues. So if you've been feeling like your body's trying to tell you something, it has been trying to tell you something. And so I thought today we wouldn't just be learning about how it's possible to heal, but if you're willing to join me, perhaps we'll go investigate. Now, I can't give you the full journey intensive, which is a 3-day deep immersion where you're learning the whole journey processes and being embraced by journey practitioners who support you in undergoing that in-depth work. So I can't take you into that, but perhaps today I can give you a taste of how to open with your emotions, how to open with your body, and begin this inner listening process. So instead of just talking about it, we can dive into this. Now, one of the things that science has found, when I first was diagnosed with that basketball-sized tumor, I was at the cutting edge of what was happening in the field of alternative health, complementary healing. I've been certified in so many areas, and I never dreamt in a million years it could happen to me. And I had taken my best friend in with me to go see the doctor, and she had done the full exam. And when I came out of that exam, she took me to her consultation room, and it seemed the more she talked, the more dire she was making it sound. And finally, she said, Brandon, you have a pelvic mass that's the size of a basketball. And I told her that I was in the alternative health field, that I was in complementary medicine. And she said, Brandon, you chose me because I practice integrative medicine and connected to this clinic here. We have acupuncture. We put people on cleanses. We offer them herbs and supplements. We have guided visualization. We even do yoga attached to this. She said, but if I thought that would work for you, it's the first route I would recommend for you. But look at all these case studies behind me. These books are filled with them. There's not a single woman who's been diagnosed with a mass as large as yours who successfully healed herself. So though I may wish you well, you're actually going to need to get into the hospital right away. And we're going to have to discover, is it benign? Is it malignant? But it's not going to matter. You're going to have this tumor removed because you're bleeding internally. This is not your period that's happening. And I said, listen, I'm trained in so many different areas of and NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, in medical hypnosis. I'm a master herbologist. And, on and on, I went through all the different areas, acupressure and a kinesiologist. And I said, if through one of my ways I can get the bleeding to stop, how much time can you give me? And she said, well, if you can get the bleeding to stop over the next 3 days, then I'll give you 1 month to get it sorted. But if you aren't significantly healed in a month's time, then you need to let me come back and let me do what I know how to do, which is surgically remove it. And so I'd been given this little respite, and I walked out the door and my heart was thumping through the roof and my mind was going a million miles a minute. And because I was aware I was already doing everything that was available to me. And I still ended up with this huge tumor. And I walked outside the door and I was holding my best friend's hand. And as I stepped outside the door, there was this mimosa tree there with like golden petals, something I hadn't even noticed. And as I looked up at this mimosa tree, I was absolutely stunned by the beauty of this tree. And time stopped. And I had what is called a Sartori moment, where all of time stopped and became timeless. And out of nowhere, waves of gratitude came pouring through, and gratitude just to see the color yellow in this beautiful tree, to smell a fragrance I hadn't even noticed going into the room. And in this vast, timeless moment of overwhelming gratitude, the mind went absolutely still. And out of nowhere came a gut knowing that somehow I would be guided to heal. And even though nothing I'd done so far had worked, I had an absolute knowing. And I was at that time at the cutting edge of what was happening in the field. There was a lot of research going on in the field of cellular healing. And what science has found, and particularly at that time, Dr. Deepak Chopra, who wasn't, the guru he's become today, but at that time he was chief medical officer for a hospital in Boston. And he decided to do a radical thing at the time. He decided that he would amass case studies of people who had healed without drugs or surgery. He said, we know enough about what makes people die, what makes people get ill. He said, I want to know what makes them heal against the odds without any kind of medical intervention. And he amassed hundreds and over time, thousands of case studies. And what he found was that people who had healed without drugs or surgery had two things in common. One was that through some act of grace or spontaneous event in their lives, they actually got access to this that he called the infinite intelligence, the part of you that makes your heart beat and your eyes shine and your hair grow. And the second quality that they had in common was that through some act of grace or spontaneous event, they somehow got access to these cell memories that I was just talking about. And if somehow they released the stored consciousness there, or, it was just a spontaneous event, when the new cells were born, they were born devoid of that old consciousness as new regenerative cells. Now, I knew all this. I'd studied, I'd even seen the case studies that Chopra had. But I got to tell you something. You can know all the science on the planet. You can understand how these cell memories get passed on generationally. But unless you have a method, it's no more than a bunch of amazing statistics on a page. And that's where I stood. And yet I had this gut knowing that somehow I would be guided to heal. And so that was what the gift of my own journey was. I found a means for all of us to get access to the vast field of awareness, that infinite intelligence that is your own divine healing potential, and how to get access and be guided by that divine healing potential on a journey inside your body to get access to these cell memories, and how to go through a process of release and letting go and understanding, ultimately through a process of forgiveness, so that when new cells are born, they're born devoid of that old consciousness. So if I had to say what is in the journey, in a nutshell, the best way I could describe it is to say that we all of us come into this life as this radiant, shining field of awareness, of love, where we feel ourselves be part of and in everything, one with everything. We come in as this enlightened awareness. But unfortunately, through the course of life's pains and trials, this infinite intelligence that is our own soul, it gets covered over with a series of shutdown and pain, traumas, lies. And when we get to be adults, we cover all the mess of that over with this polished veneer, this mask that we present to the world. And then we wonder why it is everyone thinks we're so full of, you can answer that sentence. And then if you get to be very lucky, life gives you a wake-up call. And these wake-up calls, they can come in so many different forms. They can come in the form of a loss of a loved one or divorce. They can come in the form of a loss of your job, pandemic lockdown, an inability to figure out how to homeschool kids while you're not allowed to even go to work, on and on. And it's where for a moment you crack through this mask that you've been presenting to the world, which says, no, I'm responsible, I'm dependable, I've got it handled. And you crack through that. And spontaneously, you end up opening down through the layers of the traumas, the lies, the shutdown, the pain. Spontaneously, you end up opening into that vast field of oneness that you came in as. And you realize it's been there all along. Only like me, you bought into all the layers that covered it. And then if you get to be very lucky, you fall so in love with the truth inside, with the love that is your essence, the peace that is here, that like me, you'll do anything to clear whatever blocks you, whatever holds you back, whatever shuts you down on any level of being. And so this is what the journey's about, is you open into that infinite intelligence, and then you're guided by your own soul into specific areas of the body to uncover the old cell memories there, the old programming, the old consciousness, the old traumas, the negative beliefs, the pain that's stored there. And you go through a gentle but very powerful process of releasing all that's stored there, coming to an understanding of what's happened to you in your life, and ultimately forgiveness, so that your body and being can heal. And so even though I would love to take you to that, through that in-depth teaching of how to open into that infinite intelligence, how to get access to that boundless freedom that is your own essence, and how to go through this clearing process, we can't do that today. But we can begin to establish a relationship with our bodies and begin the inner listening process. And so I'm wondering if you'd like to join me and just do a divine experiment here, where we're just going to go inside the body, just explore a bit, to uncover what the body has to say, what inside the body's trying to communicate to us, and just to begin a gentle kind of toe dip into listening to what the body is trying to tell you. So if you'd like to join me, let's take a nice deep breath in together. Letting it out, closing the eyes. And take a deep breath in of just being curious and open to whatever the body wants to reveal to you. Breathing that into the room. And willingness. The willingness just to allow whatever wants to be revealed, whatever wants to be felt or spoken, just to be allowed to come up. And your body will never give you something you're not ready to face. So if it comes up, you're actually ready to face it. So breathing that into the room. And trust. Trust in yourself, trust in life, trust in your own innate knowing in your soul. Breathing trust into the room. And letting your heart now be as wide as the world. Wide enough to welcome everything that lives inside of you. That's how vast this vast infinite field of awareness is, of all acceptance. Is spacious and vast, free and endless in front of you. It's boundlessly spacious and free behind. infinitely vast and spacious to all sides of you. Boundless below and sky-like above. And you're just resting here. In this vast field as an open sky of all acceptance. And now turning your gaze inside the body. And you already know this, the body is like this container full of all kinds of feelings and cell memories and emotions. And our feelings, they're like little kids, Some of our feelings, they're loud and attention-seeking, like little children can be. And some of your emotions, you've rejected them so many times. They're scared of you, and they don't come up anymore. They hide behind closed doors and underneath lids. And some of your emotions are so deeply buried, they feel that they're not allowed to be here. And so just putting out an invitation, a warm welcome, opening your heart wide to everything that lives inside of you. And just say to your emotions that you're sorry that you've pushed them away or buried them. And that for today's session, you're going to open wide. And you're going to listen to the body. And that you're open to feeling whatever the body wants to reveal. And just let the body know you're sorry that you haven't listened sooner. And that you will start listening now. And then now locating a part of your body where there might be some tension or stress or holding or contraction going on. Locating that tension right now. Taking a nice deep breath in of acceptance. And flooding that area with acceptance. Let it softly open that area. As if that whole area is opening up, and if there were an emotion spontaneously beginning to rise out of that area. I wonder what that feeling might be. So taking a deep breath in of acceptance right now. And now flooding that area with acceptance, letting it soften and be marinated and tenderized. And if there were a feeling starting to rise out of that area, I wonder what that feeling might be. It might be as quiet as a whisper. So just welcoming whatever's here and also whatever's not here. And just asking if this area of my body could speak and it had words, what would it say to me? Just give it a voice right now. If this specific area could speak and had words, what would it say right now? How do the words make me feel emotionally? How do they make you feel emotionally? Or if there's a picture just showing up, step into it. How are you feeling in that picture? Or maybe there's a lid somewhere where it feels like there's a block or some sort of shutdown. There is a lid, and imagining that there's some sort of lid there, take hold of it the way you would of a can of peanuts when you pull it back the lid, take hold of it right now and lift that lid off. What's hiding here? Just welcoming whatever's here and also whatever's not here. Taking a deep breath in of acceptance, flooding this area with acceptance, and now coming to neutral, finding a different part of your body where there's a little tension or stress or holding or hiding or contraction going on. Just locate that area right now. Now take a deep breath in of acceptance, and now flooding that area with acceptance, letting it soften that whole area and open it up. And if there were a feeling there, I wonder what that feeling might be. If there were one, might be as quiet as a whisper. So feel like you're just opening right now, like petals opening. And if there were a feeling arising out of that area, what might that feeling be? Or if this area could speak and had words, what might it say? Give it a voice right now. If it could speak or had sounds, just allow yourself to listen. And as you're listening to the body, how does it make you feel emotionally? Just welcoming whatever's here and whatever's not here. Or if there's a picture just spontaneously coming up, what might that picture be? Step into it. How are you feeling in that picture? Or perhaps there is a lid somewhere. If there is a lid or a block or something shutting it down, take hold of that lid, lift it off. What's hiding here? Take hold of it and lift it off. Just welcoming whatever's here, whatever's not here. Taking a deep breath in of acceptance, flooding that area with acceptance, and now coming to neutral inside of yourself. And finding yet a third area where there might be a little tension or stress or contraction showing up. Just find that area right now. Some holding going on or some hiding showing up. Locate that area right now. And take a deep breath in of acceptance. Flooding that area with acceptance, letting it soften and feel like the whole area is opening up. Being tenderized and marinated. And if this area had a feeling that's just spontaneously arising out of it, I wonder what that feeling might be. Or if it could speak and had words, give it a voice. What would this area say right now? And as you listen to the words, how does it make you feel emotionally? Or if there is a picture showing up, and sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But if there is a picture showing up, step into it. How are you feeling? Or if there's a door somewhere, like there's something locked behind this door, well, go ahead and open that door. What's hiding there? Just welcoming whatever's here and also whatever's not here. And taking a deep breath in of acceptance and flooding the area with acceptance, coming to neutral. And that if it feels appropriate, you might like to say to your body that you're going to start listening. You're going to start being present to whatever it is that the body wishes to reveal. So if that feels appropriate, you can make that promise to your own self. And then taking a nice deep breath in, letting it out. Once again, letting the heart be as wide as the world. Wide enough to welcome everything that's here into this vast, open sky of all acceptance. It's spacious, infinite, vast, free in front, boundlessly spacious behind, and free and endless to all sides. Boundless below, sky-like above. And you're just resting in this vast field so that eyes open or eyes closed. Same. And taking another nice deep breath in and sighing out. And one more nice deep breath in and sighing it out. And you can open your eyes now into this vast field of presence, of awareness that is your essence. Taking another nice deep breath in, letting it out, and one more nice deep breath in, and sighing it out. And if the eyes have not yet opened, this is your invitation to open your eyes now. So, this is just a tiny baby step towards this befriending of your emotions, this listening process. And I love to hear some of what you uncovered. If you'd be willing to write into the chat box some of what you may have uncovered inside of you, some of the emotions. Sometimes it's quite surprising that when we finally say yes and we befriend our emotions and we welcome them, that the body is actually very happy to reveal to us what's stored there. And thus begins your healing journey, starting to listen to what the body is trying to tell you. So if you'd be willing to write into the chat box what some of the emotions that came up or issues that came up for you. And Gabby,
yeah, I will, Brandon. Thank you so much. It's been a beautiful, beautiful meditation. I'm still waiting for people to write in. I think it always takes people to come back and find the keyboard. Yeah, just starting now. A deep shock. And somebody just wrote that loved the opening concept. And I find why I'm struggling with finding a house and what keeps me from it. I felt sadness and pain in different parts of my body. Lots of unshed tears, many more than I realized were there.
Right.
So
yeah, I actually had a little unshed tear coming up when I was going into my neck area. And
grief and fear somebody else. I dimmed my light to please other people's needs. Verzweiflung und tiefe Traurigkeit, despair and sadness, resentment and grief in my jaw and throat. After that, I couldn't feel or access much at all. I feel shut down. I found pain and anger. My head feels heavy because of too many thoughts. So those are the comments showing up.
Beautiful. It's so beautiful to see how clearly the body is trying to communicate to you. And I really do feel it's a call, not from me, but from your soul, that it's time now to come home. It's time to begin this process of really opening into your own soul and letting yourself be guided by your soul to uncover the cell memories that are stored inside, not just the emotional issues, but the actual cell memories that catalyze those emotions that are stored inside your body, and to go through this deep process of the journey of releasing, letting go, kind of understanding what took place with you in those cell memories, and ultimately coming to forgiveness of all that had taken place in that cell memory. And something happens that's magical when you forgive. It's when you finally let go of the whole story of pain, so that when new cells are born, they're born devoid of that old consciousness as new regenerative cells. And this is why in the beginning, the journey was always used. I first started working in cancer centers, all over Britain, and it's been used for all kinds of physical issues by medical doctors, nurses, and well, in hospitals right now, there's 3 that are being on a documentary series right now in Israel. And it started that way as physical, but then I had a prayer that actually we'd get to the emotional root cause, that we get to these real issues before they end up manifesting as disease. And so the emotional journey was born from that. And then, it's obviously nearly been 30 years since this all took place. And over the years, I've been traveling the world to 39 countries. The work is translated into 22 languages, and the work has deepened and expanded, and a whole practitioner's program and training has been born out of that, and continues because it's born out of direct lived experience, not out of some theory out there. But I've seen what works, and I've seen what doesn't work. And so the work has naturally evolved. This download of grace that was gifted to me 30 years ago is now evolved and expanded and become so user-friendly. And so if you feel that you've uncovered something that is a deep issue for you, I would respond to that wake-up call, that it may be time that your body is trying to tell you prior to it manifesting as some illness down the line. And to this end, we have something called the Journey Intensive. And it used to be you only got to it with me in person in some country in a seminar. But because of the pandemic, the wonderful gift that came from the pandemic is we are now offering it online, virtually, where you go through an in-depth 3-day immersion where you'll learn on the first day how to, through teachings with me, process work with me, meditations and guided introspections. And in the afternoon, you partner up with another student and you go through a one-to-one process, swap in a breakout room with the support of the practitioners who are holding an embrace for it. And then on the next day, the second day of the Journey Intensive, then we have the physical journey where it's actually about going to these cell memories and how to undergo that process and in a very practical, real way, clearing. And then finally, on the final day of this immersive retreat, you're going through the advanced skills and how to clear generational issues. And, you know, sometimes we have energetic cords that we're connected to other people unhealthily, and we're kind of sharing energy, and how to sever those, and how to find forgiveness in impossible situations where there's things that you couldn't forgive, and on and on. And so at the end of 3 days, not only do you have this huge wash clean where you're getting processes every day and guided introspections with me and meditations with me, but you're actually getting the work one-to-one with another student, and you're being held in that embrace. And so you get washed clean. But my real prayer is that you don't just use it for yourself in your own life, that you give it to your loved ones, your children, your parents, your grandparents, your friends, that you give this work away so everyone can experience what it's like to take the lampshade off their light and to come home to that peace that's inside, that wholeness that you came in with, that oneness where science has said we came in as this vast field of oneness. As a matter of fact, we felt so at one with all of life that when Mother's hand came before our eyes, we experienced Mother's hand as being part of ourselves. All of us came in as this enlightened awareness, as a vast field of love, of peace. And it's that peace, that wholeness, that love that is your own soul that brought you here. It's what's calling you home now. So if you feel you touched on something, I really, with all my heart, heartily recommend that you actually heed the call home. And so there are many intensives going on around the world in September, and in all the different time zones in Europe, America and Australia, New Zealand, and it's happening all around the world, the Middle East. And Gabby can share with you how it is you can come to this immersive retreat that here, with the pandemic being on, the whole staff, the team at the Journey are offering it at a fraction of the cost that it used to cost to take this 3-day immersion. So if you feel the calling to come home to the love inside, find true peace, and have the skills to clear whatever blocks you, holds you back, or shuts you down on any level, I heartily recommend you get to a Journey Intensive wherever it is around the world. And so I'll pass you over to Gabby, and she'll share with you how that's possible. And also, she was going to do a lottery on giving away a free place for all of you that are still online, she's going to be offering a free place to the Journey Intensive in your time zone. And so a heartfelt namaste and thank you. And I look forward to seeing you again online at the Journey Intensive. Namaste.
Namaste. Namaste, and thank you so much, Brandon. I have just lost electricity in our house, so I had to dial in again with my telephone. So I do apologize for that little technical glitch. For those of you who weren't there at the beginning, my name is Gabby. I've been with Brandon and the Journey for many, many years, and it's been a huge privilege to see people come to heal and wake up, and the profound changes that have been witnessed. Now, these online events have been going for over 3 years now, and they really, really work. It's such a privilege to see what can take place, and it's so beautifully done. So we've made it available at an affordable price. You have fabulous support with our team. You have fabulous support with our journey practitioners. So the next events are happening on the European and Australian time zone at the end of September. And you have different languages. So the sheet that we're sharing, or the landing page that we're sharing, has all the various events. So please just, if you feel called, if you feel this, I should really be doing this, then come and join us, and just sign up. It doesn't get much better than that, to have so much profound life transformation with so much support for such little financial input. So I can heartily recommend. We also promised that we would have a free place, and I was going to do it in front of you, but I did scroll around before with my eyes closed and actually chose a lady, and the name that showed up for her was Jill H. So it's all in small letters. You know who you are. Now, if you have already been to a journey intensive, please pass your place on to someone who you know could do this. But and also you will need to write to support@thejourney.com and let our team know that you are the person that we don't get an email address in the format of Zoom. So we need to know where we can offer that free place from. At the moment, I don't even know your full name. I just know it's Jill H, all in small letters. And I hope we'll see you at the September event. Please come and join us, and your place will be absolutely free of charge. So that was it for today. I thank you with all my heart for joining, for being here, for participating so deeply. It was a beautiful meditation, a beautiful discovery session, and finding out what the body is trying to tell us or teach us if we are only present to that. I think that was the biggest teaching in my life, and I'm so, so grateful to Brandon for that. So I leave you with the finishing music, the finishing touches, and I hope we see you at the upcoming events. If you feel that that you need to know more about the event, what takes place, if it is for you, we also have a team on standby for clarity calls. And that is also something that Olga has just posted in the chat box. So if you want to speak to somebody about the upcoming event, just book yourself a call and somebody will be in touch with you and speak to you about the upcoming event. Thank you with all my heart, and we hope to see you at the next event. Thank you very, very much. Namaste. Good evening. Bye-bye.